Hi, Annie here, and it's time for another monthly favorites, and it feels like we're kind of getting into the home stretch for the year now, so that's kind of exciting, but also I can't believe how fast and slow this kind of year went at the same time. But again, I feel like I do this spiel every month, so I'm just gonna get into it and kind of, keep going. So the first thing I have here is Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip. I got watching this after I filmed my Cancelled Too Soon Matthew Perry edition video, which I'll link below, but I just remembered how much I loved it, and I've been rewatching it, and it's, the words are just, I love the words in this. I love the cadence and the rhythm, and it seems to me a little bit different than West Wing. It has a different thing to it, but I love the words, and I love the ideas a lot of time behind it. Even if I don't necessarily agree with them, I love that kind of like deeper thought and idea behind these things that are being presented here as far as like the power of television. And I think, again, I've mentioned this in my other video, but when Studio 60 came out, I'd kind of been thinking more about that stuff anyway, and this just reminded me of why not only I love this, but why that is such a fascinating area to me. Like, I love that, like, the behind, not the behind the scenes element of it, but like the power that television has. And I love that, the construct and the fact that people think about that, and that some of them want to do good with it. I think that's something that appeals to me. And it's also just, I remember reading a book about Cecil B. DeMille and another one about Samuel Goldwyn a few years ago, and it was a lot of that stuff even from the early movie business, and it's something that fascinates me. It's actually something that I'm interested in even with YouTubers that I've watched for over the years, and people that are choosing to kind of put different elements of stuff in the videos. That's something that really appeals to me, because I think that's something that with every medium you see happen. And this, I feel like, is a show that was about trying to be your best and but flawed people trying to do a good job, but also was like really referencing that kind of power that television had, and how is it actually potentially slightly immoral to build one up that isn't actually kind of what's best for people, one idea or one person up, and not somebody else because like the numbers are better or the ratings, like that balancing ratings with like the fact that it actually influences real life. And really, you couldn't kind of be thinking about that stuff, some of that stuff, in a better time as far as how the media works and all that stuff. So that's been one that I've really been liking, and just, liking revisiting. The next one I wanted to mention was a series I've been watching online, and it's Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee. It's Jerry Seinfeld hosts the show. It's just on the website, Comedians in Cars. If you Google Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee, it should be the first site that comes up. And the episodes are between 13 and like around 22 minutes long. The Jimmy Fallon one was a two-parter, but they're around that length. And he's had some fascinating guests on, and I feel like he does end up talking about with a lot of them, stuff that's slightly different than what gets discussed in the normal interviews. The Jimmy Fallon one was really excellent for that reason. The John Oliver one, also hugely insightful. And there's just a lot that kind of comes up, like I said, that either is from where they're coming from, or just things about how they structure their comedy, just really stuff that doesn't always get talked about in like your normal interview. It goes a bit deeper than that. The Mel Brooks and Carl Reiner episode is particularly good, but then again, I kind of love Carl Reiner. And the Julia Louis-Dreyfus one, again, is one that like was really revealing about himself as well as her, because they talk about who he was back kind of, when they were filming Seinfeld, because they have such a long relationship. It breeds kind of a different conversation, and it's just fascinating to me. I love that kind of stuff, though. I love hearing like thought process and how people are thinking, or why they ended up where they kind of ended up. So it's a show that is right up my alley, and in all honesty, I would probably happily watch it, even if it was like an hour or more long episodes, because it's just, that's the kind of like in-depth thing I really enjoy watching. And unfortunately, the next one that I'm going to talk about, I also don't have a copy of. It's Dinner Ladies, which is a UK series, which when I started watching it, I'd forgotten how long ago it aired. It was from the 1999-2000 was one of the big things because they celebrate the millennium, and I'd completely forgotten it was that old. Like, I somehow was thinking that it was more like the mid-2000s, but yeah, it's been a while. But yeah, I watched it when it was like airing in like real time, so that was, I was like, I just hadn't like pinned it to anything else in real life, so it just kind of was free floating in my memory. But that's a show that I think is really interesting, and it strikes a really good balance between funny and like everyday funny, and sometimes like kind of that heart-wrenching, gut-twisting pain in a way that I will say probably it reminds me of The Office, like the UK Office a bit, but yet not as dark, I won't say in tone, but just in like visuals. I'd say it looks more like a sitcom than The Office did, but very much the same thing. Not because the people are necessarily they don't have that, it doesn't ever feel like they're talking about the writers or writing them to be ridiculous. There's characters with a lot of quirks and flaws and all this stuff, but never, you know, David Brent felt like he was being written as ridiculous, played as not, but written like where the writers knew he was. And this show never seems to feel like that quite the same way. It's really brutally honest in a few places, though, that about like, you know, just life that is kind of painful. It's set in a canteen, and there is a like kind of lead character that was played by Victoria Wood, who also wrote the show, and then her mother was played by, but that character is ridiculous and everybody knows it. But the kind of overall show just is really like kind of warm and funny, but also, like I said, that beautiful pain that happens in life. And I think that I'd forgotten that element of it. I'd forgotten that there was that like those gut twisting moments. And yeah, it's an interesting rewatch for me because it has been quite a while since I have seen it. I'm not sure probably when the last time I had watched it was, but it's been quite a while. And yeah, I think watching it now compared to when I was in my teens when it was originally on, like, it's a very different show to watch because I'm closer in age to the characters that are on the screen, and you know, different stuff happens in life, and that it got me a little bit. Like, it just, you know, it makes you those things make you think sometimes. Like I said, it's this great comedy show, but there's these deep moments of kind of pain and inner turmoil that, yeah, it got me. But it also was a really enjoyable watch, and if you haven't watched it, I think a lot of you might like it. It's set in a canteen in a factory, and it's the dinner ladies, the people that prepare the meals, and their kind of stories and lives and little snippets of things and plots. And there's, you know, the HR person that comes down and is meddling, and that's played by Celia Emery, who I think if you watch much British film or television, you'll probably recognize. She was in Bridget Jones, as well as I think Marigold Hotel, and many other things. She's been around for quite a long time, but she's somebody that you'll recognize from a lot of stuff if you watch a lot of it. But yeah, and if you watch Coronation Street and have since the 90s, you'll recognize a lot of faces because it's quite heavily stocked with Coronation Street women. So that's always kind of fun to recognize people like that as well. The next movie I wanted to mention was Romeo and Juliet, the 1996 Baz Luhrmann edition. That was one that, again, I revisited because I was doing my 20 years ago video, and that was a movie that I just fell in love with. I fell in love with kind of the presentation and the art and the kind of pomp that just was so deep into it, and the music, and it was a total like immersion. And I know it seems to be a bit of a Marmite movie, and either you love it or you hate it, but for me I just loved it. back when it first came out. I saw it in theaters, and that, I think, in a way, I don't know if that's part of why it felt like that, because I'm not sure the small screen will ever be able to do it justice. I also think there was a lot of stuff, you know, Leonardo DiCaprio, it was before Titanic, it was, as that was really building, Claire Danes was from My So-Called Life, there was all these other elements and things going on at the time that I feel like were heavily kind of woven in a not apparent way, because even the kind of gang violence and the stuff going on in Los Angeles that was happening, a lot of that felt, the newsreels and the conflict within the movie really felt like it was mimicking that. I think it was meant, well, it was definitely meant to feel like that, but I think that when you were living in that time, it just felt like a really kind of better weave than maybe it does now, where it seems a bit hokey or a bit odd. I know I've seen a lot of people that really hate it, but I think, again, like, the music was this beautiful fusion and all this stuff. But again, I mentioned it in my 20 years ago video, and I'll link that one below. But I think it was a movie that it caught something for me. And Romeo and Juliet, to that point, like, was not a favorite Shakespeare play, and it opened up. I liked a lot of the Shakespeare plays that I'd read, but purely from like more of a historical perspective. Yes, they were universal, but they weren't today, you know. And then that came out, and all of a sudden it just felt like this mind-blowing thing that the stories really don't change, and you can put this old language in, and you can do this, but it's the story and the feeling. I think that's probably what it was with that one. It's like what you feel when you watch that is so much more important than anything. And like, it's the complete picture rather than any piece that is very, very kind of elemental in that movie, in a way a bit different than some others, I'd say. And the next thing I want to show you I actually have, and it's the YSL Volupte candy, sheer candy in number 4, and this color is called pomegranate. It is what I'm wearing today. I got it in the Bay sale. They do a big sale where there's like $10 off if you spend over so much, and then you get a big kind of swag bag of samples and a little bag as well when you spend over so much back in August. And this was one of the things I picked up, and it's just, I've had one of these Volupte candy sheer before, and they're really, really nice. They kind of are very much more of an oil than of the other ones. It's a balm, but they just kind of like sink right into the lips. They probably aren't a great choice if you want something that like is gonna look perfect and stay on your lips perfectly all day. But I have quite dry lips, and this just softens them up. And if I wanted to put a lipstick on top or a gloss on top, I could, but I often just wear it and I'll reapply a few times. That part doesn't bother me. And like I said, you have dry lips, you want to be reapplying, so something like that is great for me. And the last thing I want to mention is a song, and it is the Major General song from Gilbert and Sullivan. I've been listening to it way too much, and if you don't know what song I'm talking about, I almost don't want you to look it up, because you'll never get it out of your head. Not the words, but like the beat, the again, I think I've had a month of just being seduced by words and rhythm of the words. So yeah, and again, that's actually one that is also parodied in this Studio 60, and they do We Are the Modern Version, or no, We Are something version of a modern network TV show, but I'm not gonna sing, but I've been listening to the original Gilbert and Sullivan one. That was actually the first kind of play I saw ever, and I saw it in Stratford, and I was like 6 or 7, I think. But yeah, I really liked that song, and I still do. And anyway, I think I'm gonna leave it there, because I just realized I've been talking for quite a while, so I don't want to like overkill, and I think that was basically everything I wanted to really kind of like throw in there this month anyway. Give this video a like if you enjoyed it. Please let me know what your favorite thing has been this month, or what you've been enjoying, or what you're looking forward to. I want to know it all. Subscribe if you haven't already. I put a new video every Wednesday, usually about movie and TV related things, but also sometimes life stuff and sometimes craft stuff. In November, I have something very special planned. There's going to be a new video every Monday through Friday, and yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. I hope you'll subscribe and watch and comment and all that stuff through that month as well. But I shall let you go for today. I'm horrible at saying goodbye in real life and apparently on videos. So anyway, I'll let you go. Don't forget to leave that comment, and I'll see you soon.